I want to thank everyone for coming today, and of course I want to thank and recognize my colleagues on the Gainesville City Commission, Commissioner Randy Wells, Commissioner Todd Chase, Commissioner Helen Warren, Commissioner Harvey Budd, Commissioner Craig Carter, and Commissioner Charles Gosson will be joining us shortly. I also want to, speaking of Commissioner Charles Gosson, making his grand entrance as usual. See, colleagues, this is how you get your own applause. Want to, of course, recognize the men and women who lead up our various departments and are responsible for the more than 2,000 employees who really make our city work. So I'd like to recognize our charter officers. Of course, we have our General Manager, Ed Bielarski, our Equal Opportunity Director, Tori Alston, our City Attorney, Nicole Shalley, our City Clerk, Kurt Lannon, our City Auditor, Carlos Holt, and our Interim City Manager, Anthony Lyons. Thank you for all your hard work. And lastly, as a point of personal privilege, I want to recognize my parents, my mother, Donna Leonard, and my father, David Leonard, stepfather. And my father passed away last year, but David's been just an integral part of our family. And I want to recognize my wife, Charmaine, who's somewhere. There she is. Thank you all for being here and supporting me. Now, would like to unveil the grand prize winner of the 7th annual City of Gainesville photography contest. It is entitled Rainy Night in Gainesville, and it's by Farrell Thompson. And Mr. Thompson is here, so if you'll join us up front, please. Thank you for your outstanding work. This is very impressive and just wonderfully captures a part of our community that we're all very proud of. This photograph was taken during evening hours, just after a cleansing rain. And the photo evokes Gainesville's ties to its historic past, connecting the old and familiar with the excitement of what is yet to come in downtown Gainesville. So again, please join me in congratulating again Mr. Thompson. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Bob.
At this moment, we will proceed with a video presentation entitled The Defining Moment.
In a Blue Ribbon Committee on Economic Competitiveness, we sat down and initially looked at what we thought might be a linear process of examining the way that the development process works in Gainesville.
We began our meetings very broadly trying to figure out what kind of conversation we wanted to have at the very beginning. We didn't really have any preconceived notions as to why the committee existed or what we were going to do, except that we were there for economic development purposes.
So our first discussion was about being more competitive, but as the process went on, the idea of being more user-friendly came about. And eventually, after all of these discussions, we began to meet on a monthly basis.
We dove in using IDEO, which is an industrial think tank, if you will, that looks at processes. And they were able to look from outside the community at the way we actually function as an organization.
When we really crystallized the big idea of being the most citizen-centric city in the world, it came after a lot of input from the committee. It took months for it to sort of crystallize through conversation and work and collaboration.
To me, what the big idea at the end of it all really means is, regardless of what I want to do within the city, do I have the information and the resources available to me to make it happen? And has the city done its part to make sure that I do?
Citizen-centric meaning the city works for the people. They work for you and I every day. I have to make sure if I'm an employee at the City of Gainesville, I'm very knowledgeable. I've been trained well. I've been taught. I've been mentored to make sure I do the best. So when a customer comes in, I'm able to give them the information and they walk away feeling good and pleasant about the information they've just received.
Organizations that provide great service and that are known for doing a great job, when we looked at the characteristics that make them great, those were the things, putting the consumer at the center. Things like not getting a voicemail tree when you call in.
The city should end up being your very best ally. If you have a question, this is where you start, and they can point you in the right direction.
We are experiencing economic reinvestment. There are numerous projects around town that are today employing thousands of people as they are being constructed in and around the campus, in the downtown area, in the Innovation District. And I think that that catalyst that we are seeing today will further sponsor additional input and additional investment and reinvestment into the process.
Now is the time, while you have the momentum, think outside the box, reimagine, redesign. And I'm telling you, if you do that, you will see a much better city, and you'll see the citizens of Gainesville buying into the process, and you will see them happy, and Gainesville will be a better place to live.
I very much do believe that the City of Gainesville can be the most citizen-centered city in the world. I think it's crucial that every stakeholder needs to be a part of this. Once they understand it, they will feel it and they will know it, and they will want to see it happen too.
You got all of the resources here. There's no reason we cannot make this dream come true.
Thank you, Bob. It was a wonderful video. I felt like crying a little bit, just so you know. Tear up for the. No, it was great work. The Blue Ribbon Committee was a wonderful experience to participate in, and I thank you, and thank you, Bob, for your staff for all of what you've done today. It takes a lot to prepare this event, and I know how much time you spent on it. So again, thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm Anthony Lyons, Interim City Manager for the City of Gainesville, Florida. In the next few minutes, I'll tell you why I believe Gainesville is about to profoundly change its accepted thinking about the role of city government in improving competitiveness for its citizens and businesses. But before I do, I want to acknowledge and thank the many people who have selflessly shared their time and experience with me and who have demonstrated their support during the 70 days of Interim City Manager. First, I cannot take on this responsibility without the love and understanding of my wife and son. I will not say whether they're here today, Mr. Mayor, to protect their identity. They deserve some quiet. I received well wishes from numerous friends, neighbors, community residents, even business owners, and many others who care deeply for what we're trying to do in this community as much as I do, if not more. I deeply appreciate their concern and support for bold action to ensure the continued growth and prosperity of the city, and I'm extremely grateful to the members of the City Commission for your expressed confidence in my ability to lead the general government. I'm also indebted to my fellow charters who have demonstrated a real commitment above anything I've seen to work together and manage the coming changes that will significantly improve this organization in the way we deliver municipal services to the public. Most importantly, I want to thank the men and women who comprise the city's workforce and who consistently perform their jobs to the best of their abilities, some of whom are here today, others I hope are watching. I consider them to be the backbone of our city government and truly the unsung heroes of our organization. So thank you to all of you and your hard work and dedication. It has become tradition, as you know, to gather here at the beginning of the new year to review the state of the city and to share the vision for the city's future. I, like you, have sat in many of these events to know that the best speakers are the ones that have a very good beginning, a very good ending, and not much time in between. So, just a few key points before I get to the end. I won't spend time talking about all the accomplishments of the past year. Frankly, as the interim for just less than a few months, I'm not going to try to take credit for the wonderful things that were accomplished last year. However, I can say that we've had a number of very good things happen, a very strong year in which city employees from various departments have done an excellent job of providing the core service to each of you. Additionally, we've enjoyed some major accomplishments as well, such as the opening of Sweetwater Nature Park. We've also had a few challenges, as you may have seen, but have acted swiftly to overcome them, improve our performance as an organization, and continue to earn your trust every single day. A few examples. Recently, our police chief, Tony Jones, who's here today, announced that the Gainesville Police Department will hold a town hall meeting to discuss details of a significant reorganization of GPD. Chief Jones is proactively addressing issues within the department to ensure that continues a well-earned reputation for professionalism that reflects the highest ethical standards for a law enforcement agency. The Gainesville Police Department will not condone unprofessional behavior by any of its officers, rookie patrol officer to senior commanders, period. As public servants, employees at every level of government have an obligation, a duty to maintain the integrity of the institutions of public governance. Without it, it is impossible to maintain the trust of the public we serve. Maintaining institutional integrity is the job and dependent upon the personal integrity of every city employee. This is especially so for the leaders in municipal government. That is precisely why, when presented with issues that clearly are conflicts of interest or may reasonably appear to be conflicts, I will take action immediately to eliminate the actual or the reasonable perceived conflicts of interest. Fortunately, I am blessed to work with an excellent team of leaders in the departments of the City of Gainesville. Their major accomplishments during the past year are described in detail in the Citizens Report, which you have on your chairs and you can find online. Please take the time to read it. As I said, the details of which I won't go over today, but I hope you do read it. The report is subtitled The Defining Moment. It is intended to suggest that our city is arriving, or has arrived, at this one crucial moment in which we can redefine the role of city government, or not, by putting the people we serve at the center of what we do, by becoming more citizen-centered as an organization, as you have just read, and I believe we should. Actually, this particular defining moment in our city's history can be more accurately described as actually a series of very small moments of truth that shape each interaction between citizens and the government. For example, take entrepreneurs who want to start a food truck business. How do they begin the process to open their business? Is the information needed readily available? Or consider the citizen who calls to find out when a broken street light will be repaired, only to find out that they go from place to place to place on a phone tree, perhaps never hearing a live person. These are those moments of truth that citizens come into contact with the citizen in government on a day-to-day basis, and what provides for public participation about their and our government. Redefining the way government provides public services doesn't begin with some large public event today, like the State of the City address. It actually begins by making each of these very small but significant interactions or moments of truth or defining moments more enjoyable, more effective, and more successful for each citizen, each and every time they occur. Simply put, our defining moment begins with putting citizens at the center of everything that we do. So how do we accomplish the goal of making Gainesville the most citizen-centered government in the world? We'll do it by design, or shall I say, by redesign of our processes to accommodate the novice rather than the expert. Again, the novice rather than the expert. So that any citizen, from a neighborhood hair salon to a startup business, will have a level playing field on which to build their dreams. True access for all, period. Beginning with the knowledge and expertise of city employees, combined with the input from citizens, service users, business owners, elected officials, community partners, we're already developing new ideas that will help simplify the everyday encounters with city government that comprise those many defining moments I spoke of earlier. The redesign of city government can't and won't work without the direct involvement and assistance by city employees, every city employee, many of whom interact with the general public daily, thousands of times. They're indispensable partners in fashioning this exciting, innovative approach to government. That is why I've recently asked every employee to send their questions and comments to me about the process or anything else directly to me. In this very one small way, I hope to learn from the concerns of folks who provide these services every single day. In fact, city employees are already engaged in significant efforts to achieve a citizen-centered Gainesville and to respond to our defining moment. Members of our City Planning and Development Office who are here today recently completed training with IDEO, the best design firm in the world. They did so to learn and equip themselves in new design thinking skills. In the near future, you'll begin to hear about the exciting new projects that are a result of this design thinking process and will transform the way city government does business in the way I just described earlier. Your city government is already changing course to align with and support the kind of growth and development this community deserves and desires. Together we can shape the future, but government can't do it alone. We absolutely require your engagement as we wrestle with the hard decisions that are necessary at every step of this journey. Our greatest challenge lies not in finding the latest tools to employ or deploy, or in developing processes that are more efficient. It's not fixing roads, providing bus service, or mowing the public rights of way. It's not patrolling our communities, or maintaining our parks, or even responding to medical emergencies. It's not any of that stuff. Frankly, our challenge is always to remember that the business of the city government is to find ways to work with and for citizens so that they can live healthy, safe, productive, and successful lives, whether at home, work, or play, whomever they are, wherever they live, whatever their social status. I began by telling you that our defining moment is really the culmination of many smaller moments of truth when citizens make judgments about the quality of their government. During 2016, I invite you to share information about your experiences and interactions with city government employees with me. Try as you might to get it right, sometimes we do not. But when we don't, we'll figure it out why and get better at being more citizen-centered. If we get it wrong, let us know that too. Also, let us know if we actually get something done well. We actually do. We get done many, many things well. You may not know that. It's a joke. With your support, we can help shape and define a new role for city government that will enable increased economic competitiveness for our community and help sustain opportunities to achieve success for all of our citizens. I'm excited, and I hope you are too. And if you are, don't let this moment slip away. Get engaged with your city government and be part of something really special. There is simply no other city on this course. It is a true moment. But the question is, can we take advantage of it? Thank you.
Hello, my name's Craig Carter. I'm City Commissioner for District 3. First of all, I'd like to say what a privilege it has been to serve the citizens of Gainesville for almost 2 years now. I remember last time when I did the State of the City, I was very excited about Depot and the position we were at with it, and I thought that was going to be the highlight and a great asset to the City of Gainesville, and I still feel the same way. As we see it coming forth, the playground equipment is getting installed soon, and the hardscape is being developed as we speak right now. And I can't help but be so excited about that great asset. Another thing that has happened since the last State of the City address for me is in my district, I have about $250 or $300 million worth of building going on, which as a city commissioner is very exciting because that does increase our tax base, which is a necessary part of our funding for the City of Gainesville. Along with that, I also want to remind the other commissioners, the citizens, and the staff of the City of Gainesville, this might be a good opportunity to look and see where we're at. A number of years ago, back in 2008 and 2009, the City Commission and the staff of the City of Gainesville had to make a lot of tough decisions. And I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to re-examine our priorities and make sure that we're properly funding our parks, our recs, and our staff, and make sure that they're at the level where we can retain them. That being said, the City of Gainesville has so many great opportunities in front of it, I just can't help to think that someone will look at this place and say, I want to live here. One of the exciting things is since we brought Anthony Lyons on, our interim city manager, and we decided to make a top-down cultural change at the City of Gainesville. And this change is we are going to be a citizen-centered city. Quite simply what that means is whatever you'd like to do in the City of Gainesville, Hopefully, we can tell you how to proceed with that. So in conclusion today, I just want to thank the staff of the City of Gainesville and just remind you that when we're up here making decisions day in and day out, we sometimes forget how many hours you spend on what we might see as a minor issue, and you might have days and weeks into it, and we don't say thank you enough. So on behalf of myself and the City of Gainesville Commission, thank you very much, and it is still an honor to serve the citizens and the employees of this great city. Thank you.
Across the nation, we are seeing a shift in the conversation about how the public servants address the needs of a community. With the theme of defining moment, I want to share some thoughts on how I see this defining moment affect our city. Along with my fellow commissioners, we have worked to address several issues that affect the quality of life for all residents and also for the pleasure of those who visit our fair city. One of the biggest issues that is of an ongoing concern relates to the quality of service from GRU. I am very proud of the leadership I have had with addressing the cost of utilities for all those who receive services from GRU. As chair of the Public Safety Committee, I can share my pride for the quality of compassion and professionalism provided by our police and fire departments. I am especially confident that our Chief of Police, Tony Jones, is the right person to guide our police department through a change that will be visible from the point of contacts each officer has with the public. Another critical matter that I will support is related to the progress our city makes with the updates to our infrastructure. In meeting with Public Works Department and GRU staff, we are hearing how their efforts have been on a steady schedule to replace worn-out pipes that service the water supply and water waste. We had a defining moment last year when the opening of an incredible stormwater treatment facility that reflects the model of environmental stewardship and open public space for public use that will attract visitors from across the globe. One of the best signs of a defining moment for this community, I believe, is reflected in the improved relationship between this city and the business community, institutions of higher learning, and our public school system. This relationship will mark the progress that a community can make for all people, engaging individuals in learning experiences for future benefits of their economic and personal enjoyment. Join me in participating with this defining moment by putting your best foot forward in the way you share your day with your fellow residents. Let's all work to make this city great.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. As I look forward to the final 5 months of my 6 years on the City Commission, I see 2016 as a tremendous year of investment in our community. I'm sure that all of us have seen the new major developments breaking ground across our city. And this is a mark of confidence by the private sector in the future of our city. But this did not take place overnight or in a vacuum. It required years of planning, a struggle with the ups and downs of the national economy, but most importantly, a public investment and commitment that has never flagged. That public investment is guided by your City Commission, but it derives its authority and its vision from you, the citizens of this great city. I know that you take as much pride as I do in what our community has accomplished thus far, the challenges that we've overcome, and the wonderful things that we have to look forward to in 2016 and beyond. Thank you for the marvelous pleasure it has been to serve as your Commissioner for District 4.
You didn't tell me it was about defining moment. I'm sorry. Actually, I came on board with GRU, and I did have a defining moment. One of the first weeks I was there, it kind of came to me that there wasn't a vision for the organization. We had a mission, vision, values that we all go through, but it wasn't what I thought we ought to be doing, and in discussions with other employees, there was a different focus. And so over time, I put together a 9-point vision plan. And we gathered up the employees in some meet and greets, and something like this. Everyone got together, started out like, okay, what are you going to tell us? And I presented what I thought was where we ought to go and answered questions that they posed. And by the end, they were like, yeah, come on, I want to talk about this. And it was really exciting. And became very engaged and rewarding for me. So I wanted to share with everyone here what I talked to the folks at GRU about and where we're headed as a result of that acceptance within GRU of some of that vision. The first thing that I saw was very important for GRU was to be a bottom-up organization. We needed to look to the people closest to the job, performing the task, to gather the information to do that job better. All too often in a utility environment, you're top-down, push the information down. We had to embrace the individuals and pull the information up. And we've done that over time. As a vehicle for that, one of the things we did, and it's pretty innovative, I think, within the industry, is we brought in a chief change officer. She might even be sitting back there if she'd stand up. Michelle Lambert. She's been inspirational and responsible for getting to the folks within the organization, talking to them, finding out what they think, and drawing them out. And we are developing a more engaged employee workforce. So it's really good. The second one of the visions is making the backbone of the organization the IT structure. All too often we saw within the organization workarounds around something that should happen electronically, should happen automatically. So we're working on SAP installation within the organization. We're working with a host of folks on charter amendments to where we want to go there. And one of the leaders for that is one of my new officers, my Chief Financial Officer, Justin Locke. If you stand up and introduce yourself. So he's engaging the organization in how to get better at each one of those levels. And instead of being just effective, we're going to be efficient as well. The other issue is embracing change. As an organization, you know, we're all on the precipice of new technology, new ways of doing things. And that's exactly what I pose to the individuals, that we've got to be able to embrace that change, work with that change. And through the work of my CCO and CFO, we're having people come to us with ideas, and it's just very rewarding. Next one that kind of gets a laugh every now and then, it's what I tell the employees. Get your love at home, not at work. You know, it's important to have a work-life balance. Not that the public needs to know about that, but internally, it's interesting. You know, you have some folks that, you know, do put a lot of time in there, and they prove to be good mentors. But, you know, the millennials are different, and we have to work toward, you know, making the workplace, you know, adaptable for each one of those individuals. The other one would be actions speak louder than words. I talked to my folks in these meetings and said, you hold me accountable. You know, when I'm not, let's see, when I'm talking the talk but not walking the walk, I get that mixed up a little bit. You got to hold me accountable because I'm part of the organization as well. And if you're empowered, you need to push that up through the organization. So that's what we're doing. Part of that is one of Michelle's tasks, as well as Yvette Carter, is diversity and inclusion. You know, they are proceeding with a diversity and inclusion agenda, and we are looking to fund that in the new budget. And that's something very important for the organization as we grow and go through this change. The other one is rate relief. You didn't think I'd get to that, did you? Yeah. You thought that'd be number one. We are seeing rate relief. We went from 7.8 cents to 7.3 on the fuel adjustment. I think you may be in store for some adjustments down the road. Justin is working his magic as the CFO, looking at how we're managing that. And I think that really is the key that links us to the rest of the community, let's face it. We still have the highest electric rates, but I believe that with some of the ways we're managing the contract, how we're managing our organization, moving us from the military model of being effective but not efficient to being efficient, that we can get to the median of the electric rates in the state. So we're going to work toward that. The other issue is synergies within the organization. We operate in silos. It's a natural way that utilities operate. You have electric, you have gas, you have water, wastewater. So you have organizations that work in each one of those. So we've tried to bridge the gap and to cross-functionally operate. We've had some people that have been doing that for years, but we're building upon it. And they brought ideas to the table, and we're going to continue to do that as an organization to, again, get more value for the customers. Next thing that we're addressing is knowledge management. How do we deal with the loss of some employees that are going through the drop program, maybe have 30 years, 20 years experience? So we're working with them throughout the organization, putting in overfilled positions, bringing in new talent, which diversity and inclusion also brings to the table. And then the last part of my plan is investment. And then people hear investment, oh, dollars that are going to the power plant or they're going to some other asset. Part of that is the employees. We have to invest in our employees in terms of training. We have to invest in the community. You know, Yvette Carter is my new community relations director. And we spend a paltry amount, I have to say, on community relations. And that's something that we have to do more of in the future. If we are going to be a community utility, we have to act like the community utility. So that's what I've told my employees. And I think it's been very responsive. I think you're seeing the results out there. Whoa, it attacked me there. Sorry about that. So in closing, I would say that our mission as an organization is to return GRU to a position of preeminence within the community. One of my folks that I brought on board talked about becoming the Harvard of the muni world, you know, where people want to come here and work for us. They want to share in our services. They want to be around the opportunities that we provide. I think we can do that. We want to get the rates to the median in the state of Florida. And this is one of mine. I make it acceptable to go out in public, as acceptable to wear a GRU hat as you would a UF hat, you know, or a shirt, right? Because we're a community utility. So one other thing that I have in closing, did he leave? Did Lewis Walton, was he in? Oh, there he is. Lewis and I went to the school board meeting last evening, and the Alachua School Board approved GRUCOM's proposal to provide them with the most technologically advanced wide area network and internet solution available to any school district in the state of Florida. Lewis was instrumental in putting that proposal together and putting a value-added proposal together where these are some of the notes he gave me. So I'm going to GRUCOM's design will provide them with near real-time scalability of up to 10 gigs per second of bandwidth capacity at each of the district's service locations. Under the new GRUCOM system, each location will have on-demand access at over 2.5 times the total amount of bandwidth capacity that's currently deployed for use across the entire district today. The design is equivalent to providing the system with its own private roads, with no traffic, speed, stoplights, or speed limits, and we can't wait to see how the district translates that ability into educational opportunities for our kids. So that's really working on the digital divide. So thank you, Lewis, for working on that. And thank you.
Welcome to the State of the City Address. I'm Charles Gostin, City Commissioner for District 1. It has been my pleasure to be a part of one of the greatest city commissions in the history of Gainesville. There's a lot of work that can be done, and there's a lot of work that has been done. I came into office with a promise to create opportunities in the face of opposition. I came into office because I wanted to see economic development equally distributed throughout the city. There's a lot of mountains to climb, and I feel very capable. I feel very comfortable when I say, I sit with 6 other commissioners and a mayor that can make anything that seems impossible, possible. We have a great air of congratulatory assistance from every commissioner. We have the support and understanding of every commissioner. Gainesville deserves the best. Now Gainesville has the best. We have had an opportunity to look at what the past has created for the citizens of Gainesville. And some people believe that this is strictly a political situation, but this is a people situation. And we have a mayor and some commissioners who believe that. This is a heart-committed and a very compassionate group of folks, along with myself, who believe that anything that we know needs to happen will happen. In my district, we're going to endeavor to bring businesses and economic development, restaurants, and businesses that will employ those who are unemployed or looking for higher employment. We can make things happen, and we will make things happen. We have been dealing with one of the greatest controversial issues in the state of Florida, having the highest utility rates in the state. But we have attacked that issue, and we have begun to disseminate the high utility bills, and pretty soon we'll turn frowns into smiles. I'd like to say that this is the greatest opportunity of my life, to be a representative for the City of Gainesville and District 1, and to make things happen where nothing has happened in the past. And I'd like to say again, thank you for those who I served with, and my only wish is that you understand that in this serious condition, we have created opportunities in the face of great opposition. I'm Charles Gostin, City Commissioner, District 1.
Happy New Year. 2016 will bring the start of my last year in office, and for me, I'm going to focus on why I ran in the first place. I've learned a lot over the last 5 years, and one of those things is that there are a lot of sad people that just play silly games that couldn't care less about the lives of the people of Gainesville. But they have their parties and their projects and their people, and that's all that matters. When you're in this long enough, if you're not careful, you become one of them. And over the Christmas holidays, I thought about that, and I don't want to become one of them. I ran for office to help people like my mother. She died during my second year in office, and I know she's looking down, and I know she's proud of me. She would see quite a different commission today than the one I joined in many ways. I have to believe that somewhere out there, there's a single mother that's out there working 2 or 3 jobs. I have to believe there's retired grandmothers and grandfathers out there worried about their bills. You know, they don't care who's a Republican or who's a Democrat. You know, they don't care how people spend average usage or kilowatts or rates and bills. They just know their bills are too high and they don't know what to do about them. You know, they want people that are honest with them. They want people who will try to do the best they can. They want people who will run for office and then move on with their lives. You know, let the sad people play their games. They don't know any better. My mom had a picture in her house during the last few years of her life that was close to where she laid every day. And I'd see it, had a picture on it and some words, but I never read those words. After she died, I was cleaning out her house and I finally read it. This is that picture. It's a picture of some tulips, and the words on it say this. It says, there comes a point in your life when you realize who matters, who never did, who won't anymore, and who always will. Love everybody, forgive everyone everything. My wish for all of us is that we're all lucky enough to come to this point in our lives long before a doctor tells us the end is near. God bless you all.
It's been only 8 months since I was sworn in as your city commissioner. My goals for the city of Gainesville have not changed significantly from my election. Number 1, I will continue my effort to achieve lower utility bills for the ratepayers of Gainesville, and especially the poor. As I have said before, but it needs repeating, My goal is for a kinder, gentler, and smarter GRU. Number 2, I will try to stimulate the economy in East Gainesville and bring more jobs and economic prosperity to the Waldo Road corridor. We all need to work hard to end economic segregation in our city. Number 3, the city needs to pay a livable wage to all its employees in the next budget cycle. There is a gap in wages and basic living costs. The City of Gainesville needs to lead the way for all the employers in Gainesville. Income inequality leads to poverty and family suffering. We can do better, and we need to try. Number 4, gradually repurpose city government and GRDU to become more citizen-centered for its residents and ratepayers. We have an election in 2 months, and I hope more of you that are watching this video will vote on March 15th. Remember, if you are voting by absentee ballot, please mail your ballot early. All local mail in Gainesville now goes to Jacksonville and then returns to Gainesville. Nearly 300 absentee ballots in the last election were not counted because they arrived a day late on Wednesday. Your vote really matters. Thank you.
So it's my responsibility to sort of bring it to a close, hopefully pull it together. I want to quickly, though, recognize our 2 charters who did speak, Mr. Bielarski and Mr. Lyons, because this is their first one, and it's different than the way it used to be. Now, we know what brings us all together. We know why we are all here. None of us won last week's Powerball lottery. But we do know that if anyone in our community could have won the jackpot, his name would be Clovis Watson. Some of you know that history, will get that. It's good to see everyone here, and it's especially good to hear the remarks from our 2 charter officers and from my colleagues on the Gainesville City Commission, and also who represent the more than 2,000 men and women who work hard every day for this city. The love of the city is evident not just in the actions we've taken, but in the passion of our pursuit. In preparing this year's remarks, I went back and read my comments from the last 2 years, and then I couldn't resist. I revisited how states of the city were handled before I became mayor. One person speaking the entire time, with a minutia of detail and an uncritical display of self-congratulation. Not my style, but it's not our style. We are in this together. We should speak with pride at the good work we are doing, but we should also respect our citizens by candidly and directly addressing the challenges we still face. So how is the state of the city? Well, the evidence is all around us. It's hard not to feel good about our future when driving through and seeing all of the activity taking place. New buildings being constructed, new businesses opening up, new parks being built, which we've referenced, community partners fulfilling their missions, areas of town long neglected now integrated into our plans for growth and prosperity, college students and senior citizens and veterans fully engaged in this, one of the country's few Purple Heart cities. To sum it up, Gainesville is cooperative, focused, and strong. Here would be the part where, unsure of my leadership or our collective decision-making, I might inundate you with a litany of statistics to prove the point. But we don't need to do that. Okay, maybe just a little. Gainesville has the lowest job rate in the state and the lowest since before the Great Recession. Gainesville is ranked as a top 10 college town by American City and County and ranked 5th in another national ranking. Gainesville, actually there's a lot of accolades we could point to that would run out the hour. So we don't really need to do that. Certainly there have been businesses that opened ground before this period. UF has broken ground on its own expansions. We've seen all of that. Dirt has been turned, new parks and pathways built. But for the honest observer, there has been an undeniable acceleration of activity. Those who are politically skeptical or politically motivated will remain so regardless of the facts. And those professionally skeptical have actually published the facts of our remarkable turnaround in their own papers and on their own television programs, even if they've yet to connect the dots as to why we've come so far in such a short period of time. This level of activity is even more impressive when we consider where we were. In my first State of the City address, I noted a report that said, despite Florida's population growth set to overtake New York State, and this was in 2014, Gainesville's population had actually declined. This wasn't Ed Braddy's assessment or a partisan talking point. It was the measured condition identified by the Bureau of Economic and Business Research and reported by our local media at the time, with the unmistakable conclusion that people were seeking opportunity elsewhere. So we should all be proud that this trend has reversed. Gainesville is growing again, and it's evident all around us. And with it, Gainesville moves closer and closer to becoming a true city of opportunity for all. We are doing this not simply by applauding the efforts of others to improve our economic climate, but by being fully engaged partners with all of our major stakeholders in improving this community. This activity we see is not divorced from the actions we've taken. Again, here is where I could cite recent headlines of new companies moving in, the hundreds of new jobs, or even the dramatic increase in business licenses filed in our city, which obviously points to significant growth in small businesses. This is due in part to our deliberative and focused effort to become more welcoming to businesses, and also in part to the supportive role we now play in partnering with other stakeholders like the Chamber of Commerce, the University of Florida, Santa Fe College, Career Source of North Central Florida, and others. We had good partnerships before, but they've never been as strong as they are now. We're a city that not only has its own city-sponsored small business incubator in partnership with Santa Fe College, but we also support the university's efforts. Even the Gainesville Housing Authority, under the leadership of Pam Davis, has launched a small business incubator this past year to provide opportunity for entrepreneurship, even for low-income citizens. This last one, of course, represents a concrete effort to address economic disparities and to narrow the gap of income inequality. I bring that up because when I became mayor, it was reported that income inequality in Gainesville was among the worst in the country, and it's still on the radar screen. This is a tough and persistent gap to inherit. And unfortunately, even the latest reports this year on income inequality in Gainesville use data that was gathered in 2013, which means our efforts this year and last simply cannot yet be measured. But I'm reminded of the theme for this past week's Martin Luther King Jr. events. Don't talk about it, be about it. And we have unquestionably tackled the problems of economic disparities in our community. We'll continue to do so. In partnership with the Alachua County Commission, for example, we opened up 3 free Wi-Fi areas in East Gainesville to address the digital divide. I myself signed the Alachua County Education Compact to ensure our children get the support they need to achieve a higher degree of education and the skills that are ready for the workforce. We've expanded the reach of job fairs, inviting new participants, and beefed up recruitment efforts in the city's hiring process. We are providing a model program for integrating science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and math at the Reichert House, which not only serves at-risk youth, but also, disproportionately, minority kids from low-income families. And I initiated a discussion, and we'll be announcing it tomorrow, to provide a seat for a Reichert House graduate to enroll in the Gainesville Dev Academy, which is in many ways the tip of the spear in our efforts to build the innovation economy from the ground up. And I'm proud to have established the city's first ever committee to promote minority-owned and minority-oriented opportunities in businesses. Regarding innovation, we simply do not have time to discuss the many efforts we've made, the partnerships in the communities, and the meetings I've convened both here and around the country to leverage our local talent for greater opportunities. But I'd like to comment on how innovation, facilitation, and partnerships intersect, not just for economic benefits, but for a higher quality of life. And it's also illustrative of how we as a commission have worked together to achieve buy-in from all officials on major policy issues, what I like to call getting everyone's fingerprints on the final policy product. We are blessed as a college town with many bright students, and more than a year ago, they brought to my attention the desire to have the innovative transportation company Uber operate in the city. But we had burdensome regulations written for taxi cab companies. Well, instead of the highly prescriptive approach of forcing a square peg in a round hole, and in the context of other cities picking winners and losers by using their regulatory code as a cudgel, we instead actually listened to what the people wanted, and we rewrote our entire regulatory code to accommodate both services. But here's where the magic happens. Because in addition to being a college town with college students, we're home to a growing senior population that has its own unique set of transportation challenges. And our mass transit model that works so well for university students simply does not fit for this important group of people. So in partnership with Uber and Elder Care of Alachua County and the Gainesville Area Chamber of Commerce, our city is the first in the nation to offer discounted Uber rides to low-income seniors. And I'm pleased to report our 6-month pilot period is complete, and we are ready now to expand enrollment throughout the city. I ask you, under our old top-down approach locked into a transportation paradigm of centrally planned fixed routes and fixed schedules, could something like this have ever happened? It is amazing the progress that can be made when we listen to our community partners and act in ways to facilitate ambitions rather than telling them how they can fit into our bold prescribed plans. The theme, lest it be called a vision, of facilitating the hopes of the city rather than prescribing has been enormously successful. The difference between that which facilitates and empowers rather than prescribes and imposes is the difference between a toothpaste with baking soda and a toothpaste with bacon and soda. Let that sink in. The former fortifies while the latter sounds good but doesn't achieve desirable results. You knew I'd work a bacon reference in there. And it can only happen with a board that works together. So I want to again thank my colleagues for their efforts this past year and before to find common ground for the good of our city. This is even more remarkable given the predictions of dysfunction by so many since taking office. To show you how far we've come, it's important to show you where we've been. When I mentioned a desire to address income inequality back in 2014, an editorial the following week said it was, quote, disconcerting that I would echo a concern raised by President Obama. If you want a singular statement that captures the partisan blinders of the past and the tug-of-war politics, you can't do much better than that one, that it's disconcerting in an effort to set partisanship aside to find common solutions to serious problems. My, how far we've come. The City Commission of today is a far more politically diverse board than it's been in a long time, but for any honest observer, the act of setting aside partisan differences today in order to identify and tackle common problems is Gainesville's new standard operating procedure. And we should all be very proud of that. Do you know when our last split 4-3 vote was? I went through the minutes because having been reminded by active citizen Joe Beatty, I decided we needed to read our minutes carefully. And we have to go all the way back to March 19th, 2015 on an item about the Boundary Adjustment Act to see a split 4-3 vote. And we've only had about a dozen 5-2 votes since then. So the vast majority of our decisions are 6-1 and 7-0. I'm sure that horrifies some people. But they're probably the same folks peddling the false narrative that the city is gripped by a radical Tea Party agenda, which you've heard recently probably. So let us affirm here in this Hall of Heroes that there are no Republicans and no Democrats. Yes, we have our differences, as should be expected in any pluralistic community. But what unites us far outweighs whatever may divide us. And what unites us is our desire to put citizens at the center of all we do. By affirming our commitment to this nonpartisan leadership, we have exceeded expectations of progress. Nonpartisan leadership is part of this vision, but putting citizens first is another. Of course, the ultimate recommendation of this is the recently retired Blue Ribbon Committee on Economic Competitiveness, which is to make Gainesville the most citizen-centric city in the world. Even as the City Commission has become more diverse politically and by experience, there has emerged a common cause, that the city should be seen as a helper rather than a hurdle. In virtually all of our efforts the past few years, from fighting the heavy cost pressure of the direct biomass contract so that we can pursue affordable and competitive rates, to modifying our land development code after seeking greater citizen input, to fully engaging neighborhoods with our police in areas like Duval in order to reduce crime, to establishing a unique partnership to provide door-to-door transportation service for low-income seniors, to the Blue Ribbon Committee itself recommending a city government redesign around its citizens. The unmistakable common denominator is a city hall that facilitates the aspirations of its community rather than defines them. A community that listens to rather than lectures at its citizens. This is bold, but it is not imposing. So where does that lead us? When your government is centered on respect for its citizens, you can be more candid about the challenges we face. Although we can point to a reduction in the utilities fuel adjustment charge, the first GRU rate reduction of any kind in many years, and our elimination of the family unfriendly lowest rate tier, our citizens still struggle with utility bills that are too high. That remains the principal challenge of 2016, to continue working at pursuing more affordable rates for both residents and businesses. When I became mayor, the effort to provide a place for the homeless was mired in a lawsuit. Had we not settled, there still would not be a place to provide shelter and hope. We should be very proud of the efforts we've taken in recent years to provide the place. Now the challenge is to make it sustainable. It is currently on a trajectory that will break the city's finances. We have to make sure we are following best practices and tying funding to performance so that those who really need help can be sure they get all the help they need. And we need to add another layer to it. We need to deploy a team of mental health experts who can work on the last challenging dozen of folks that remain difficult to get to places where they can get the help they need. And then we need to continue working on our infrastructure. Again, the data is all there. We have more bike paths and sidewalks now than before. We're paving more roads and patching more potholes. We've expanded transit routes into East Gainesville and elsewhere. We're doing those things, but we need to make sure that we are tying them to our mission and that we are getting them done on time and on budget. And then we need to deepen our partnership with the University of Florida. We've partnered already to improve street lighting around the university context area, which has actually freed up resources for us to improve lighting in areas of East Gainesville. We need to look at 2nd Avenue as the actual physical manifestation of a town-gown partnership that can provide not just housing for students, but housing for preeminent faculty and a transportation corridor that connects the university to downtown. And when you talk about our Blue Ribbon Committee, there are some immediate actions that need to take place in the year 2016. The establishment of action officers who can champion citizens, and of course the welcome wagon that will have the city going out to the people instead of having the people come to the city. Our approach is open, inclusive, and accountable. And this is the recommendation and the recipe that will help us solve any problems we face in the future. It is an approach grounded in the trust of and respect for the people of Gainesville. So to close, our approach is bold but not imposing because it is facilitative rather than prescriptive. We have much work to do, but much to be proud of. We didn't get here by chance, and we're not mere observers to activities that are beyond our influence. A city of opportunity exists to help its citizens achieve their hopes, dreams, and aspirations. Our job is to steward those opportunities, and we're doing it now better than we ever have before. Thank you.